Hey, good morning everyone. What we're doing today, we're gonna see the difference between store-bought coffee and fresh roasted coffee, which is true coffee. I get a lot of people that say, hey, I really like your coffee, it's so smooth, why is it so smooth? Well, one of the reasons it's so smooth is because it's fresh. And one of the things that people taste in coffee is oxidation. Store-bought coffee just kind of sits there for 6, 7, 8 years. It's what it is. And so when you taste that, I can get my coffee, Beck's Farmhouse coffee, to taste like store-bought coffee. But what I have to do is I need to grind it, let it sit in the air for about, I don't know, 6 months so that it can oxidize. And then you can get that store-bought coffee taste. We're gonna show you what blooming is when we talk about coffee blooming, and we're gonna talk about what just like that really nice stale taste of store-bought coffee is. So go along with us. We're gonna do an incognito. We gotta go get some coffee first of all, because we don't have any store-bought or stale coffee here, but we'll go get some stale coffee from the store and then we'll come back. All right, see you soon.
Clayton, was that too harsh? I mean, it is the truth, but I just want to encourage people. We gotta give them something they probably have never tasted before. They've never tasted fresh coffee.
You recording right now?
I'm recording.
You can see our feet. All right, can you hear me? Let's find some coffee. So we're here. We got a big selection, right? Huge selection of stuff. Got all the name brands. We got everybody that's making coffee these days, which is great. I'm super excited about that. So this one right here is, it's a very popular one. So this has got notes of dark chocolate and caramelized sugar. I think this is gonna be good. We're gonna test this out, but I found something as I was coming through. Some people have asked me, they're like, man, this thing, the coffee in the block. I like the yellow, really cool. We gotta definitely test this one. We're going with these two and we'll see you in the car.
Sweet home, sweet home. All right, here we go.
All right, so we're back in the studio, AKA Coffee House. We're gonna use 28 grams per pour over, and then we're gonna show you a close-up of each of those, and then we're gonna also show you them side by side. Now what we're looking for is for these things to bloom. Now what is blooming? Blooming is where the coffee interacts with heat and water and starts to gas off CO2 in major amounts. A coffee that is fresh is gonna bloom a lot more than a coffee that is not fresh or that is stale or that has been oxidized. So that's what we're gonna do. So let's get started. I think we should start with the green. We're gonna open this up. It's got a fancy dancy thing here like this. Smell that. When you're cupping coffee, you always want to do a dry aroma. And I know I'm sticking my nose in there, but this is my coffee, so I can do that. So this is dry aroma. We'll try the wet aroma after it starts. 28 grams. Maybe you can make this fast because this is going to take a little bit of time. All right, I'm pouring this in just to get pre-wet the filter, get rid of any kind of paper taste. We're going to do the second one for the yellow. Everything's the same. So we're gonna use the scale, we're gonna tear it out. Tear means we're gonna make it to 0. And now we're gonna do 28 grams. 12. So there's 28 grams. And now we're gonna start our pour over. We probably should do a video on pour overs, but pour over is just what it says. It's pouring over, and there's kind of a way to do that, especially if your coffee blooms. If your coffee blooms, there's a certain technique to do it. Right now, we're just wanting to get all of the coffee saturated, make sure we do an even pour over everything, and just see what happens. So why don't you get a close up here of kind of what's happening. So I'm gonna pour in our center. Okay, so I'm saturating everything. Saturate it. So what's happening is that coffee is coming up. It's like making a mound, and as it comes back down, I want to start adding more water. So it's flat now. Okay. You smell that? It smells pretty dark. So that's our third pour over that. Let's get another one more. Let's see how we're doing. So just look at the filter, by the way. As I'm pouring, you're seeing that the coffee is not really expanding a lot, right? It's kind of just staying in the bottom, even when I'm putting hot water on it. So that's pretty normal for store-bought coffee. We have not a lot of bloom. I can smell oxidation. That's normal. I don't know how long that coffee's been sitting there. A lot of big manufacturers of coffee will roast up a lot of coffee. They have to send it, to their distribution. It sits in a warehouse and then it sits on the shelf. And by the time you get it, this is a normal thing. Retaste. Why don't you taste that? Is this recording? Yeah.
That's one. Dos. I'm getting some smoke on that. I'm just getting like a lot of smoke.
Okay, here you go. Okay, so that's coffee 1, the green bag. Next, coffee 2. It's gonna be the yellow bag. So this is pretty cool because it comes in bricks and this is vacuum packed. It says it right here. They pull all of the oxygen and everything out of it. Now that's a good thing, but here's the thing that's kind of something that you may not think about. When you roast coffee, fresh roasted coffee, we talked about it in episode 1 where coffee fresh roasted needs about 3 days to gas off, and it continues to do that, several weeks up to a month. What you have to do with this is you have to roast it and let it totally gas off so you can vacuum pack it. Because if it gases off at all, then it's not gonna make it a nice little brick. But let's open it up. Ooh, it smells like coffee. Smell that. Someone that gets fresh roasted coffee, they're like, man, it's so smooth and it doesn't give off this flavor. This is a very pungent flavor, which is oxidation. And so you can't replicate this except making coffee old. But anyway, wow, that's pretty interesting. All right, let's see what happens when we put it under water for the pour over. Okay, check this out. Now this is ground a lot finer, so it's gonna be harder for us to do a pour over here, but I want you just to notice just the bloom on it. Like how much is it expanding as we add hot water to it? Not a lot. My guess is it doesn't have a lot of CO2 to release because it's already been released before they vacuum packed it. So this is no bloom. There's no bloom on this coffee. Yeah, taste that.
Whoa, way different than the last one. That is a flavor.
All right, so we tried both of the coffees, very interesting. One did have a little bit more bloom than the other. The green had more bloom than the yellow. Totally different tastes, and I think it really comes down to oxidation. That oxidation, what it does, it takes that flavor profile and makes it a very narrow window. It tastes like coffee. And I think some producers do that because they want to have a consistency year after year, year after year. And so it serves those producers well because they have consistency in their product, and it's this very narrow window. All we're trying to do is to take all of those elements that came before us, all of the care, the patience, and all of the diligence to get the coffee to where we could actually roast it. All we're trying to do is to expand that. And so that's why, we hand roast our coffee. We only do it in small batches. We can only do 25 pounds at a time. We use this roaster that's vintage, this one roaster that brings out the character of that bean. We roast a little bit longer than most people. There's been a trend over the last several years, blonde coffee or white espresso or all of these type of things. And for me, I don't think I'm alone in this, is that I think that's more of a fad than something that's gonna last because that coffee's not been developed enough. There's so much more to bring out in that coffee. So that's why we take a little bit more time to roast our coffee. We roast smaller batches and we're just doing it by hand. So that's all we're trying to do to, I guess, really do good by the growers and all of the farmers that go before us. Out of the top 20% of the coffee in the world, we're using the very top 5% of that coffee. These coffees that we're using have to be handled correctly, have to be given the care, have to be diligently roasted. And so that's all we're trying to do. So let's try our coffee and let's see what happens. So we got some Tanzanian pea berry. It smells good. What is a pea berry, by the way? Most coffees and a coffee cherry has 2 parts of that bean. With the Tanzanian pea berry, and any pea berry for that matter, it's only got 1 bean per cherry. So this is whole bean. As soon as I break this coffee up, as soon as I grind this coffee, oxidation is gonna happen, right? So we're just gonna do this on drip, what we usually do. All right, last but not least, Beck's Farmhouse coffee. Let me smell, dry aroma, smell that. It smells delish. So you can also see, this is so fresh roasted, there's a piece of chaff right there, pop, pop, pop. And so this is real coffee. It's like real, from Tanzania. So let's start. Saturation, you see how it's blooming, making a muffin top. See, it just keeps growing. It keeps growing like this. It's like a muffin, and I'm getting ready to break it, this like top. And this is where a lot of aroma comes out. And do you see how it's just sustaining itself up there like a big mushroom? Gonna break the crust here. With really fresh coffee, you have to be a little bit more dedicated on your pour over. There's so much CO2 that's being released, it's almost hard to get the water into it because it just keeps foaming up. Look over the top, because now we're at the end of the brew, and you can see. See the foam that's around the fresh one? Because it's been releasing all that CO2. It foams up, it's really foamy. So let's try this. So I get nutty, there's some nutty there, get some chocolate there. There's a lot going on in that cup. It tastes like a Tanzanian pea berry. This flavor profile, instead of being here, is now been expanded. So even like the aftertaste I can taste some like berry. I want you to taste this, all right?
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's it. We hope you enjoyed the test. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let us know in the comments if you've ever seen the bloom in your coffee, and we'll see you in the next video. Later.